Okay, it's recording, but I think I have to share the screen first because it's going to install something here. Okay, so you know now you have been told that this one is conceptual. So yes, you better try to understand it. And it's better that you know the level of difficulty you need to face rather than you don't know. Okay, but sometimes it works the opposite way. Remember, we used to talk about the concept at the beginning. Okay, but this is long time ago. Okay, now remember that when we try to consider the displacement of, say, the structure like this. Oh, what? I already okay, hang on. Let's let you okay, but I just so resume. So when we talk about this, do you remember that we used to mention the fact that okay, if you know this deflection, okay, and then you face the situation like this, the same, but now with the support. This deflection caused by the load. If you have a support here, this deflection caused by the load must be equal to the deflection caused by this reaction. Right? But they are going in the opposite direction. So we talked about that. And we talk about it in so many cases, but I don't think, I doubt if you can recall it. See that? So let me add here as well. And there as well. So let me try to refresh the memory, but we have the empty page here, so let's do it here. If we are talking about the case like this, which is the true case, in order for this to be true, we can break this down into the case with the pure load. And in this case, the support has been removed. So we have the displacement. Let's call them delta big B. This is the actual displacement due to the load. But remember the fact that we have the support. The fact that we have support means displacement, that's my displacement, okay, at that particular location is 0. Right? You agree, right? If we have the support, the displacement there must be 0 because it's support. So if I remove the support, I will induce this actual displacement. Right? After removing the support. So simply put, when I bring the support back there, the displacement has to be 0. Correct? Do you agree with this? If we do not have the support, if we remove the support, your structure will deform because there is no force to hold the displacement back. You should get this concept from statics because displacement is opposite to the force. When you have the force, you don't have displacement. So when you have displacement, you don't have the force. right? That's your definition of your boundary conditions. So that means if I consider just the support, I can say this is my support reaction. This displacement by the support alone, by the force from the support alone, should be equal and opposite to, let's call delta VB. I will explain to you later why we need that. Yes, I can. I'm sorry. Happens every class, right? Can you see it now? Loud and clear. Okay. So if we consider the displacement by the support reaction alone, they too must be equal and opposite, and therefore I can write this equation equal to 0. Okay. This is like revisiting what we had before. This is what we call compatibility equation. The structure that we remove the reaction is called primary structure. Okay. We will leave the answer as to why we have to subscriptions here later on. You don't need to know that. So get this idea first, the idea of compatibility, that the displacements caused by these two conditions must be equal and opposite. Or to put it plainly, when you add them up, they all must come down to 0. Because in the reality, we have the support, and at that location, displacement is 0. So we can break this by superposition into two conditions, right? This is, yes, the work of superposition, and put them back together here. So you can see why we stopped here and went to the virtual world, because in order to construct this compatibility equation, you need to calculate two displacement, right? Two displacement need to be, say, obtained. So our objective in the calculation of displacement is so that we can put them into our compatibility condition or equation to solve our indeterminate structure. Okay. So let's go over this again. Now I'm gonna approach this from a different angle. Let's say now we have, let's use the same problem so that you can see clearly. Okay, we have this as our structure. So how many reactions we have? 4. We have 4 reactions. How many equilibrium equations do we have? 3. We have 3 equilibrium equations. So 4 minus 3, that's equal to 1. The number of the reactions that exceeds the number of equilibrium equations we call the degree of redundancy. sorry. Our space. Redundancy. Redundant is not a very good meaning, is it? Right? If you work in a group and some of your friends come to you with a smiling face and they say, "Oh man, you're such a good redundant." You can't be happy. It means you're so useless. We don't need you. You're redundant. So redundant in the sense that yes, it is the reaction that you don't actually need. Because if I remove this, we still have a perfectly sound structure, right? But if I have that, my structure becomes much more strong. And the redundant, yes, it gives you the, say, alternative load path that something can go wrong with the structure and the structure can still survive because the load can go elsewhere. If you have a determinate structure, if something goes wrong, your structure will bust. Go bust. Okay, so the first thing first that you must be able to tell the degree of redundancy. That is generally I would write degree of redundancy like that. That's how I write it. I follow footsteps of my advisor. He writes like that. The degree of redundancy. Generally, we have talked about this, right? If I can talk, right? For example, the typical frame that you will face in your work would be a frame that looks like this. So, how many degree of, how many reactions? 6, right? Simple. When you see the fixed end, you know it's 3. Here, we have 6 reactions. How many degree of the equilibrium equations again? 3. And that means you now have 3 degrees of redundancy. The degree of redundancy will tell you how many compatibility equations you need. If you have 1 degree of redundancy like this, it means that you would need only 1 equilibrium equation. Because it's pretty simple. You have 4 unknowns here. You need 4 equations, right? In order to solve 4 unknowns, you need 4 equations. But you only have 3, so you better come up with 1 extra. We have 4 in the end. And when you have 6 unknowns, you better have 6 equations. You have 3, so you better come up with another 3. But to use the force method to solve a structure like this is nothing short of a torture. And nobody does that anymore. So I don't do it. It's not the point of trying to have a laugh in your face and, hey, you can't do my exam. I'm sorry, man, you died. No, we don't do that. So the force method is still the backbone of many things that people use in the research. Okay? And this is the first step of, say, mankind in terms of fluid engineering. Before we come up with the methods that are compatible with computer programs, we begin with force method. And it's conceptual because you need to see it. You need to understand why we need compatibility. And when in order to construct compatibility, you need to turn this into a primary structure. This is purely conceptual. This is something computer cannot do. So that's why people try to develop something else that, you know, would give us the better opportunity, better platform, and, you know, etc., for us to analyze the structure. Who's gonna, because, you know, the building in the real world, it looks like this, right? So it just no question really how many degree of redundancy we need to do here. It's like 500 degree redundancy. So Do we need to write 500 compatibility equations? Yeah, you would spend a year doing it, and especially spending time finding what's wrong with your calculation, right? So we don't do that, and I don't do that either. So you can rest assured that in this class we are not going to do anything beyond 1 degree of redundancy. We do it just for the sake of it. We do it so that you can understand what the force method is about, because who knows? Some of you here will go on to become a professor on, the theoretical approach of civil engineering, so and so and so and so and so and so. So you can't go out in the real world like, oh, I am a civil engineer. And somebody says, all right, do you remember how painful it is when we did the virtual work? I was like, what? What word? I've never heard of it before. No, we don't really actually study for that. If you don't hear of virtual work before, you're not gonna die, right? But it's a beautiful concept, and as I say, some of you may get to use it again in your research or etc. etc. So it's better that we know something about it, but we don't need to be able to use it to solve a problem like this. Okay, so let's go back here again. Here you need, in order to construct your compatibility equation, you need to turn this into a primary structure. Okay, a primary structure is of course a determinate structure, which you can analyze. The fact that we need to turn it into the primary structure is because we have the structure that we can analyze. If you begin with this, in the old days, you're done, because there's no way you can solve the fourth reaction. So some hopeless students, they know they can't do it. They get to the exam. They look like they try to use CVE337 to solve the problem. Don't bother, because you're not going to get anything more than 0. If you try to use equilibrium equations to solve the indeterminate structure, it's just like you're trying to get out of this room through the wall by using your head, poking the wall until you can get through it. Possible. Okay, so we need to turn this into the primary structure by removing the redundant. The catch is you must remove the redundant and make sure that your structure remains stable. It must remain stable. And another thing is that you will know that you will have more than one option to remove your redundancies. For example, in this problem, actually you have 2 options. First is, like we have done it before, right? We remove the roller, and we have the conditions where you put the displacements back together, and there'll be 0. Please be mindful that the first case, this is the load, actual. Okay, this is the reaction. We don't mix the 2 loading conditions together. Okay, and compatibility will make sure that you bring them back together and you have the 0 displacement at the support. The second is this. Can you think of another way? Change it, you don't have a hit. Change the fix to the hit, right? That's correct. You can also do this. Good. And now, what are we going to apply here, ladies and gentlemen? Excellent. We apply mode. And now, what we are dealing with is the rotation, right? Because you remove the fixed support, what happens? You have rotation. So you apply rotation. See, it's pretty simple if you understand the concept. And Ajahn Tamchai and I had a very long discussion about the concept of virtual work. How do we measure that you know the concept of virtual work? It comes out to the fact that, you need to, I need to ask you to prove the theory of virtual world, like I did like 2 weeks ago. But that's not the purpose, right? Because you don't need to understand the theory of virtual world, general world. Because you will probably get the virtual salary, right? On that. Anyway, so that again is the load action. And here is, of course, the reaction. So now, you get this concept. You will know that you need to calculate these. I will use the word corresponding. Do you understand what it means? It's like a big, beautiful word. I keep saying it, and you keep hearing it. But when I ask you, do you know what it means? You, something like responsibility, right? But with the word co and in front, so yeah, it's so something that relates. So in a way, yeah. The word corresponding would mean that this is your original structure, right? Right. When you remove this, when you remove the roller, you have this displacement. This is the corresponding displacement because it occurs only after you remove the roller. So when you remove the roller, you have the vertical displacement. This is the corresponding replacement in response to the fact that you remove the roller. So the another corresponding displacement you need to have is, of course, to remove the roller, you must calculate the displacement by the force in the roller itself, so that you can put them back together at zero. So this is another corresponding displacement. And here, if you remove the fixed support, it's hard to say because this is it's a matter of the language, okay? Because when I say if you remove the fixed support, we're not saying the fact that we remove the entire fix, right? The correct word would be we remove the moment restraint. When we remove the moment restraint, your structure cannot handle moment anymore, so it rotates. Correct? So rotation becomes the corresponding displacement because you remove the moment restraint. Therefore, you need to calculate the corresponding rotation due to this force. Any questions? So now I hope that you can recall why you need to calculate displacement. Okay, these are the displacements that you need to calculate. Okay. Now I give you the path to walk. Now you know in order to walk this path, you need to be able to calculate displacement so that you can put them in your compatibility equation. Okay? So first things first, you must understand why you need the compatibility equation. Any questions? Looks to be a bit crystal clear, maybe. I can see through everything. I just go through it without getting anything, right? I just go through this method, and then I look back. What did I go through? Oh, I don't remember anymore, right? La la. Time for break. I took too much time to, give the message for those of you who are not here. Something. And do you want the longer break, first break, or the shorter one? Because I seem to recognize that the first break is the break that you go out for your breakfast. So you want 15 minutes now? The second break will be 10 minutes. But naturally speaking, you are not tired yet. So the break, your first break should be shorter. But it's a break that you naturally go out your food. So would you like to enjoy your breakfast a little bit longer? 10 or 15, tell me. 10, okay, good. So let's have a 10-minute break.